Hi guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ursa. Today we're gonna go to the second part of the essential things to do while moving abroad. Previous week we went through the first part of this list and you can check it out in this video here above. And today I just want to add one more thing, and I cannot stress this enough: start packing early enough. You might think it's not a problem to get everything into boxes and ship it to your new destination, but if you start early enough and you're doing decluttering and shipping things, so putting them things into boxes and shipping them, and then you might storage some things or maybe even sell some things, it's important to have enough time to do so. And if you're like me and you're working the last couple of days before driving off, this might be quite a stressful process. For Daniel, for example, so my husband, he had some days off left before his last day of work, and he used those days just in the end. So he had quite enough time, but for me, I only had a couple of days off before Christmas, so I made sure that I boxed everything up in those days. So in the last days in the house, we were left with only the stuff we were supposed to take with us and pack it into the car. Next thing on our list, so number 7, is that you need to know some things about the landscape, language, culture, and maybe also climate. So as I mentioned already in my introduction video, I lived in Norway before for 1 year when I was a student, and also already at that time I wanted to come back. I just loved the climate, loved the mentality here and the general vibe I got in Norway and from Norwegian people. Daniel, on the other hand, he hasn't been to Norway before, but he had a couple of work assignments in Denmark, so he knew approximately what he was getting into this country. When we were deciding which country we want to move to, we only knew about the direction we were going to, so Scandinavia. And the country, the final destination, was not really so important for us. Next topic is language. You definitely should at least try to learn the language, because integrating in the local community is much easier that way. And since for us this meant learning a new language anyway, no matter which country we chose, this was not such an important thing when we decided about it. The landscape in Norway is, as everybody knows, just amazing, but also was for me quite an important factor when deciding about this. I come from Slovenia, which, as you know, or if you don't know, I'm just going to tell you about this, is one of the greenest countries in Europe. So most of the people also live quite an outdoorsy life, at least in the summer when everybody goes hiking. Skiing is also very popular and so on. So I would always choose a country that had a good landscape and prefer outdoorsy life over the shopping malls and huge city life. As for the climate, my husband would probably die in a tropical country or somewhere in south of Europe. So for him, the cold conditions were a perfect way of life. For me, well, you know, you just put some more clothes on and try to not freeze. But, you know, as Norwegians say, there is no bad weather, just bad clothing. So these were, for example, a couple of things that we considered or not considered when choosing the country and preparing our move here. And you might be completely different person and these things won't be important to you, but just be aware of what is important to you, what is not, what you can live with and what you can live without. Hobbies are also quite an important aspect of one's life. I played handball for over 20 years, and after I finished that, I let my friend convince me to try CrossFit, which kept me in an active lifestyle. I was quite unsure about it at the beginning, but then just grew to love it. And in the last couple of months before our move to Norway, life got extremely hectic and stressful for us, not only because of the COVID situation, but the COVID situation and the lockdowns meant also that all the fitness studios and CrossFit boxes were closed. So we actually ended up completely giving up on the sports. And this is the thing we definitely want to pick up again when we are settled here at the new destination. So what we did at home is we checked out CrossFit boxes, made a list of their addresses, and just when everything is opened again, we're gonna contact them, go for a tryout and get a membership so we can get active again. Step number 8. Consider how much money your move is gonna cost you and save as much money as you can. When moving to another country, one of the main costs is definitely housing. You might wanna rent a place or get your place of your own. And in order to do so, you might contact a real estate agent or some agency in general, or even find it for yourself online. You might consider flying or driving to your new home destination already beforehand, checking out the properties already at that time and securing something to where you're gonna be able to live after you move. If you don't do so, you might look for a place after you already moved to this new country. But in this case, you must consider the costs of your temporary residence. You might get an Airbnb or sleep in a hotel or something while you're looking for a new place. When renting a place, you, after you find it, of course, need to consider there's money needed for deposit, monthly rent, and then you need to decide whether you're gonna rent a furnished or not furnished place. And also buying the furniture is an investment on itself. If you are buying place, you must also not forget the extra fees if you had a real estate agent find a place for you, some taxes, and so on and so on. The other costs you need to consider when moving abroad is also how are you gonna get to the destination? Are you gonna drive there? Are you gonna fly there? Are you going alone? Are you bringing your family with you? And once at the destination, how are you gonna move around? Are you gonna use public transport or are you gonna use your own car? And if you're gonna use your own car, are you bringing one from home? This means paying some taxes and other import things, or are you gonna find a new vehicle at your new destination? Also very important, health insurance. You must not forget that when you stop working at your previous job, also your insurance lasts until your last day, or maybe in some cases a month after your last day at work. After that, you need to organize an insurance for yourself if you're not starting a new job straight away. In EU, this is quite simple as your employer is also paying for your social security from the first day on. But if you're moving to the States, for example, you need to know what insurance is included in your plan. So for all these costs, you need a good saving plan or at least a really excellent budget and expenses plan. You don't want to end up stuck halfway with no means to carry it through. For us, for example, this meant that we didn't want to give up both of our jobs at the same time, and I waited until I had the new job already in place. I had some days off to use, and I did that at the end of the month. That was my last month at the old work, so I didn't stop the last job, fly over to Norway, and on the next day start the new one. The transition period for me was a quite short one, but for me the perfect one. I mentioned already before that you need to calculate the costs for housing, but a topic on its own, and this is our number 9, is finding housing per se. And this is probably the most daunting and time-consuming assignment of your move abroad, finding a place to live. If you're moving for a job, your search is basically located to one area where you're gonna work, and you just need to decide whether you want to live in a city or in a more rural area. Do you want to live close to your job, or are you prepared to travel for work? If you are not job bound and you basically just want to live in one certain place, you definitely want to do this vice versa. Once at the destination or organizing this, you might want to get yourself an agent who's going to look for a property for you. But you also can go online where you have tons of web pages where you can do it yourself and actually save yourself some money. In Austria, for example, there is a web page called wirhaben.at which basically means wanna have, where you can go and look for housing. In Norway, there is a similar webpage called fin.no, which I think means find, and you can also look for properties there. So get yourself a local phone number, start dialing those numbers, get a look at these places and find a place to live. If you're as crazy as we were, you actually also want to book already everything online or reserve everything online. But for this, you need quite a lot of trust in your landlord in this procedure, but also you need your future landlord to have a trust in you. We did it this way because we found for us a perfect place to stay. It already was furnished, since we didn't want to spend extra money on the furniture straight in the beginning, and we had quite a good feeling about it. But it's very important that you know what you're doing, since there is going to be deposit that you need to transfer and probably also the first month rent, and so you need to be sure of what you are doing before. Also, if you're getting a furniture place already, you need to consider that you might pay a bit extra than for a place that has no furniture at all. There's also electricity, internet and all the rest that you need to organize and have in place for your apartment or house, and also need to know if these are already included in the price or not, because at the end it could mean a couple hundred of euros or dollars difference in the price. Number 10. Apply for a new passport. As far as I know, most of the passports are valid for 10 years and they need to be valid for at least 3, in some cases 6 months before you decide to leave the country again. If you're moving to the new destination permanently, you might want to consider renewing or applying for a new passport already before you leave your country. But of course, you can also apply for a new passport in the country of your new residence, but you just need to know how to do so. For Daniel, my husband, for example, as he is an Austrian citizen, this would mean driving to Oslo, to the capital of Norway, where the Austrian embassy is located. He would hand in all the documents personally and then pick it up when the new passport would arrive. Me, on the other hand, I'm a Slovenian citizen, and Slovenia doesn't have its embassy in Norway. It has a consulate, but there's an embassy in Copenhagen, Denmark. So for me, as I would have to hand in all the documents personally as well, that would mean that I would have to drive or fly down to Copenhagen in Denmark and do the whole procedure personally. But on the other hand, I would not have to pick it up personally, as you can leave them an envelope with your name, your address, stamps on it, and some possibility to track the envelope as well. What the procedure is, you can actually check on every embassy's homepage, so I would recommend you to do so for your case. While you already have to go to another country to do the whole procedure, you might consider changing your passport or renewing your passport while traveling home. I know that Slovenia, for example, has a great commodity when you have a residence, a temporary or a permanent residence in a foreign country and you're applying for new documents. So I did this after we got married. So you would hand in your application and all the documents, including the photo, etc., and they would speed up the process immensely, and you would be able to get your documents, so your new passport in this case, in a day or 2. So kudos Slovenia bureaucracy for this perk, because it's just amazing how well it can work. And we are done with our list, but I actually have a thing to add. Throw a goodbye party. We actually did not get to do this, and we saw a couple of friends and family just in the days before we left. Since we got married at the end of October 2020, we hoped a bit that this is going to be our farewell party as well. But since Corona restrictions were already in place, we only got married in a small family circle, and we are planning to do the party this year again, and we are hoping to make farewell, see you again party out of it as well. So these are, in my opinion, the most important things you need to organize when moving abroad. Let me know, do you agree? Do you have a thing or 5 that you want to add to this list? Write it into the comments, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, have a great week and see you next time. Ha det!